Hey everybody, I'm Ben Yee.
I'm Elissa Stein, and we're going to do a super quick wrap
up
of the
Community Education Council School District 2 meeting
about the SHSAT.
That's right.
So quickly, we did a quick little show outside the meeting.
Yes.
That over 300 people were at.
Wow, so full. If you haven't seen that
go
video,
and find
go
us on
watch
YouTube
it. Yeah.
Or Facebook. What was really interesting about the meeting, it was to talk about the mayor's proposed changes. About
And who was there to talk about it?
It was a representative from the mayor's office.
It was Deputy Chancellor, I thought.
Deputy Chancellor. Yeah, who I made the mistake, or not mistake, but I told him my views about it all, and then found out who was afterwards. It was an awkward moment.
Great.
Oops. I'm
So,
a concerned parent.
what happened?
Anyway,
People happy?
So what happened? No. And it was pretty interesting. I'm not sure what they were expecting.
Right.
But they came in, gave the presentation. From the get-go, people were booing from the audience. They were shouting out that it wasn't fair. And then as soon as there was an opportunity for people to speak, there was a long list of people who signed up. Everybody was against it. I got up to speak and spoke about, many issues, but people talked about the harm that it was going to do to the kids who weren't qualified to be there, that the inequity and what it was going to do to the Asian American kids.
Was the straw poll taken, right? Somebody asked by show of hands.
Somebody asked by show of hands who was in favor, who was opposed. The entire room was against the idea. Nobody raised their hands that they were for it. So basically everybody who got up and spoke had a really eloquent reason as to why this was not a good idea. But then the people on the CEC spoke about it, and they were mixed. They were there to vote on a resolution. The resolution really wasn't all that. The resolution was kind of to continue the conversation. They weren't resolving to absolutely say yes or no. It was to continue to explore.
But there were
they couldn't even vote on that. It was a 5-5 tie.
Right. But there were a few political caveats there. The resolution itself called for the discussion to be extended, but the rationale given for that in the resolution was that this is a bad idea. And so there were members of the board, essentially the board all agreed that the resolution, what the resolution was calling for, was agreeable, was good, but that the rationale given for it was not necessarily politically acceptable to half the board.
People had issues with the language. One of the things that I found was interesting, Shino, I think is her name, the president of the CEC, gave this impassioned speech about how degrading it was to black and brown students, that the language was really offensive, and then other people on the board were like, what language? I don't know what you're talking about. Tell us and we'll take it out. Of course we don't want to insult anybody. And she couldn't pinpoint what the specific language was. So she was kind of giving this big trouncing of this resolution without actually being able to point to anything in the resolution that she found challenging.
So nothing passed.
So nothing passed. Where in other districts things have passed.
What sort of things have passed?
There have been CECs who came out and just said, we're completely against these changes.
Has anybody been in favor of the changes?
I believe that there have been. It's interesting, different areas of the city, different people are affected. In District 15, I believe, in Brooklyn, they just decided to get rid of all screens for middle school.
Yes.
But
that was local to their CEC district.
Right. But there are definitely different people in different parts of the city. And it's interesting too, as a parent. There's one side where there's this ideology about what sounds great, and there's this other part where you want to have the best educational opportunities for your child. So those two can sort of get mixed up as well. We'll see how that plays out in District 15 once kids are thrown into schools that aren't necessarily the right fit because there are no screens and people don't have a choice.
Now a follow-up question on that really quickly. The CEC, you said the CEC voted to abolish screening, but the CEC is actually an advisory body, right? It doesn't have the power. That had to be done by acceptance of the school chancellor.
Yes. So CECs are purely advisory and challenging job. People are sitting up on that table while you've got people yelling and screaming in this heated, contentious meeting that went on until I think 10 o'clock.
Right.
I didn't stay for the whole entire thing. That's, kudos to people who volunteer to do this. This is all volunteer. Nobody's being paid for this. And it can get contentious and challenging. And it was interesting watching the CEC in this packed room have strident, angry discussions where they're just not on the same page about this.
Let me ask you this.
Democracy in action.
Do you think that if all the CECs, for example, went one way or the other, the mayor would change his plan?
No, I think the mayor's out to do whatever he wants to. I think that this is all rubber stamping bullshit. I say the same thing about the panels for educational policy, which I've spoken in front of before as well. People who are nominated by their individual areas, and then the mayor puts some people on as well. And at the end of the day, the mayor does whatever the hell the mayor wants to do. So these advisory positions are sort of a way for parents to get up and speak and be angry And then who gives a shit? The mayor's going to do what the mayor's going to do. So that's frustrating. So I would encourage all parents, people, educators, whomever who are frustrated by what's going on, reach out to your elected officials. Tell them how you feel. Let them know that this is okay or not okay, because otherwise we have no voice. We can get up in these meetings, which are these closed things. It was filmed for a Columbia grad student project.
Oh, really? That's what it was being filmed for?
That was what it was being filmed for. It wasn't on a record. It wasn't broadcasted.
Not what I thought.
Yeah. Well, I went up and I got her card and I asked if she could please share the testimony and the meeting with people, because otherwise, if you weren't there, you'd have no idea that was going on.
I thought that was going into.
So it was I thought that too, and I went to double check. It's a very self-contained meeting where nobody else is going to know what happened.
That
so
is
it's
nonsense.
so important to stay informed, and it's so important to advocate for not just your child, but children all over the city, and make sure that the mayor doesn't just, for his own ego or his own guilt or whatever, he's been speaking about this for a long time, is just acting on it now.
Yes.
Destroy things that have been in place for a really long time just to make himself feel better or change the optics to reflect more favorably on him.
Yes.
And you're taking away educational opportunities from a lot of children.
So the answer to all of these questions is to be involved, contact your elected officials, and make sure you vote when they don't do what you want.
Yes.
Or even if they do what you want, vote.
Vote anyway. Be heard. Reach out to people. Go to meetings. Show up. Speak out. And we're going to talk more about voting and a vote that's coming up.
Yeah.
In a moment or two.
Yes, but we should get that video and post it publicly, because that is something the DOE should be publishing.
Of course, the DOE
Every single
should be,
CE meeting should be available to the public.
Isn't it ridiculous? It's not.
I couldn't believe that. I thought that video was there for the
she's
meeting.
a Columbia grad student.
Unreal. I just can't.
High school. Yeah. Nope. Shocking.
These discussions need to be accessible to anybody at any time, especially if you don't have the resources or time to go to a meeting.
Of course. I thought that was standard.
All right, let's get that and make it for.
All right, I'm going to reach out to her tonight.
Yeah.
She gave me her card. So on that note, stay tuned, because now we're going to be talking about voting.
Yes. Laters.
See ya.